Nas coming out with something. I can't stand that punk mother. What up YouTube, Topaz Yates back for another review, and before we jump into this new Nas album review, first I got to give you context. First I gotta tell you why it is that I feel this way about Nas leading into this project so you can see where I'm going through in this review. Now if you feel as though you already know Nas enough, then you can go ahead and skip past this until this point where the review will begin. But for those of you who are still here, Nas, you all should know, is a hip-hop legend from Queensbridge, man, who this is his 13th album that he's kicking right now. And we can go back and forth all day about which album is the best Nas album, but for me, personally, my favorite was Stillmatic, and there's nothing anybody can do or say to change my mind about that. But this game that we are in right now is a what have you done for me lately game. You dig? So let's focus on his latest projects. Now the project that came out before this one was The Lost Tapes 2. And it wasn't an official album or anything. This is him just snatching up songs that he had throughout the length of his career that he just decided to throw on a project. Now this project only had 2 songs on it, and that was really disappointing to me because The Lost Tapes 1 is one that I felt as though was one of his better works as well. You did, but it is what it is. But his last official album that he came out with was named after him, Nasir, which was produced by Kanye West, and that one was super disappointing too. Not one single song off that project I actually liked. And what disappointed me here is the fact that it felt rushed, because Kanye, with the sound that he was developing for this one, it sounded like it should have worked with what Nas was doing, but yet the songs just didn't hit. And which this leads us to this album, this King's Disease, where King's Disease is somewhat following around that blueprint. Instead of Kanye West, he went out and got Hit Boy. Now, I ain't got nothing against Hit Boy, but I will tell you this. Hit Boy is a better supporting producer than he is the straight up producer. You dig? Because when you look at a bunch of his individual songs that people deem as hits, I haven't really been a fan of it. Like say, maybe his most notable was that Drake song, Trophies, in which Trophies, I was never a fan. You dig? It always came off too dry for me and simplistic, you dig? But yet, when he came through and did the additional production on songs like Click with Kanye West and all of that, that was fire. When he came through and helped out with Sicko Mode, which is one of his most notable recent songs, man, that joint was fire as well. It's just when he stands alone, that's not really his forte. And to be honest with you, there's only 2 songs off of this one that I actually kept on my playlist, but there was a bunch to be had throughout this entire joint though. My first favorite song was that All Bad with Anderson .Paak. Now, let me keep it 100 with you. If he were to collaborate with someone with this generation, I would want it to be Anderson .Paak. I would love to see a full-fledged album with Nas and Anderson .Paak. I feel as though that would be great. And this song shows you why. Like, not only is the production amazing, the hook is amazing as well. The concept of what they're talking about is pretty deep as well. This is when you have to cut off somebody, even though you have invested a lot of time and energy in this person and in this relationship, but yet you decided to go ahead and take the L on it because they showed something to you that you were not ready for, that you did not agree with, so you decided to keep it pushing. That's deep, and that honestly hurts you emotionally because of all the stuff that you probably did for this person. Like, that song was amazing. And my next favorite song happens to be the next song, which is The Definition, where on this, he's defining what exactly the King's Disease is. See, the King's Disease is what happens to us black people when we begin to move heavy in the game. That's when the media, that's when the police, that's when America in general comes at you and attacks you and try to dismantle you. That's what the King's Disease is. But there's a bunch of other songs on this that I wanted to touch on which were interesting, like that Car 85, where this is him telling a story about the car that he had back in 85 and the things that he would do when he'd just roll up and see his women and things would happen along them lines. Like, Nas' storytelling has always been amazing, top flight. Like, when I said my favorite album was Stillmatic, when he spit a story in reverse. That was like some of the most mind-blowing things that I've ever heard in my life. This is just so far of a step down from it, it was mad disappointing. The next song I want to talk about is that Full Circle. With on this, he brought back The Farm. And you know, I haven't been a fan of The Farm. Like, I love AZ. AZ has been one of my favorite rappers for quite some time, but I recognize that Nas, Dr. Dre, Foxy Brown, AZ, Cormega, this group never worked. The music never seemed to pop off in the mainstream, and as well as on the underground, like, it really wasn't that great of a vibe. And he's bringing it back to bring it full circle to see the completion of everybody's arcs on this joint, man, which is a interesting concept for things that actually work though. But then you got the most disappointing songs, like say that 10 Points. Well, what's disappointing in this one is the fact that he's showing us the signs that he's all but washed up on this. Because this song is all but just shouting out what he's done before in the past, where he said, "Peace King," and that became a saying amongst all of the people still to this day. And no denying that's one key contribution that he had through a ton of contributions that he's done to the culture. But yet, when you make a song about the contribution that you did just to make sure people know that that was you, that tells me that your creativity on making new and different things for the future has run out. And then you got Spicy, where this is him grabbing some of the more notable individuals today as well. And it just simply doesn't work. Like, the whole style clash is evident. And these dudes aren't on the level of Nas, and the song just really wasn't good. But to better understand why Nas did this, we need to go ahead and break down the bars. See, Nas reminds me of Cavassier. Cavassier, in his peak, was one of the most poppin'est cognacs out there, you dig? People really loved it. It's on the classic level of what Hennessy is and all that, but the problem is, it hasn't sustained throughout the years. Its popularity with the youth has waned, and with that in mind, you gotta understand that being on top isn't forever if you don't have the youth. Your limelight is always limited if the youngins coming up are not constantly bumping and respecting the things that you are doing. Even though it will always be quality, the brand just simply isn't what it once was. And when you look at Nas and the way that he's spitting his bars, man, you got to enjoy it because he's vocab heavy. He's rhyming a bunch of words that a lot of people out here just aren't rhyming with ever. He's so well versed in history and things that's happening right now, man, you actually learn something as you go. But sadly, in this generation, you see a lack of emphasis that people have on actually analyzing and breaking down and actually wanting to learn lyricism. But that's what we're about to do right now with some of my favorite bars. I liked how he said, "Yo, congrats on your success, you deserve the best." But you know how they always do us, the IRS. Like, that was dope because that's honestly what happens to people who succeed in the game, man. Eventually the IRS comes for them. My next favorite bar would be, "Yo, you know the rotten apple is the tabernacle." Now that's cool because the tabernacle is in the Bible. That's the temple that Solomon built. It's the first temple of the Jewish people and all of that stuff. And he's saying New York City is that to what hip hop is. And I enjoy his more simplistic bars there too, like how, you know, I became numb like pure cane on the tongue, in which he's saying him as an individual with his personality and all of that, he's become numb to what everyone else is saying and doing and the violence that's come around, just like how your tongue will become numb when you put narcotics on it. Like, these were solid bars. Like, I definitely enjoyed it, but yet as a full project, not so much. It's like watching LeBron James in year 17. Yeah, he's doing good. Yeah, they just got the win today and all of that stuff. But if you watch LeBron through the season, you can see him missing things like wide open dunks and layups and not having the energy to get back and play defense and things like that. You begin to see your favorite deteriorate right in front of your eyes. And on this project, Nas is still doing his thing, but you can tell the creative juices and the energy towards making something new and great, it just isn't there. He needs to collaborate with great acts like Anderson .Paak, or I would say a Nick Grant, and he could take his music up a whole nother notch. It'll bring back his creative energy doing stuff with these people. But overall as a project, man, I'll give this one a 5 out of 10. One you should definitely listen to though. One you should definitely break down and analyze what he's talking about as well, because he's always giving us something of substance.